Hi, my name is Dan Carmody, and I'm the Executive Director of Tresolution. We're really excited to be hosting the U.S. Fintech Symposium this September in Chicago. Joining me today are Sarah Sargent and Andrew Spillane, who are both attorneys with Godfrey & Kahn. They will be presenting at this year's U.S. Fintech Symposium a presentation titled, How to Get to Yes, Managing Contract Negotiations in Fintech. So Andrew and Sarah, thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, really appreciate the opportunity.
So Andrew, can you tell us a little bit more about your presentation, please?
Sure. So in the last several years, there's been a lot of conversation, whether it's panel discussions at conferences like this one, different articles, white papers, discussions at board and leadership meetings about whether there's value to a traditional financial institution like a bank, credit union, mortgage company, et cetera, partnering with fintech vendors and other types of software companies that are involved in the fintech space. And I think especially for people who are attendees to a conference like this one, I think the general consensus is, well, absolutely they're beneficial as long as they're done right. So, I think what Sarah and I wanted to do with this presentation was to go beyond evangelizing about fintech partnerships and preaching to the choir, if you will, and talking about how you actually get those deals done. And what we wanted to cover are some real world perspectives that we've gotten from our practices in terms of how you manage the process of actually negotiating a contract and then ultimately getting to yes.
Well, that sounds great. I mean, it sounds like a really important concept that I think, and topic that I think many fintechs and banks and financial institutions are working with on a daily basis. So can't wait to hear more about your session. So Sarah, tell me, who do you think should attend this session? What industries, what titles, who do you think would be interested or should attend?
I think this is a topic that a lot of broad groups will find interesting, all the way from, startup founders in the fintech space to contract managers, compliance officers, and additionally legal, of course.
Sure.
And even those product developers that are looking at how to build a product and how to build code. We'll talk about some of those pain point issues, as Andrew said, and really think about how can you approach those in advance so that when you get to the deal stage, they're not an issue for you.
That's great. So Andrew and Sarah, we are thrilled that you will be speaking at the U.S. Fintech Symposium, but we're equally thrilled that you'll be attending. Are there any other sessions or topics at this year's U.S. Fintech Symposium that are of interest to you?
Yeah, I can take that one first. I think, I almost don't want to necessarily pick my favorites because frankly, all of them looked extraordinarily interesting, but just from the perspective of my financial institution practice, I think we've been seeing more banks and credit unions moving away from a traditional branch model and into alternative delivery channels that are driven by, using, your computer, mobile device, telephone. And I think that's becoming even more important now that banks are largely closing their lobbies to in-person appointments and relying more upon those alternative delivery channels. So I think the presentation that's being given by the representative from FRB Atlanta about telephone payments, I think is extraordinarily timely.
All right, so Andrew and Sarah, I know you both are based in Milwaukee, just north of Chicago, and you're familiar with the area. A lot of people will be coming in from out of town for the U.S. Fintech Symposium. Are there any sites or attractions that you think they should see while they're in town?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, being the foodie that I am, I think there's absolutely no shortage of world-class restaurants that you can, patronize while you're in Chicago. I think probably the epicenter of the restaurant scene in Chicago is in the West Loop, just to the west of downtown. And that's, that's where Stephanie Izard has her restaurants like, Girl and the Goat, Little Goat, Duck, Duck, Goat. I'm sure there's something goat that I'm missing.
Anything with the goat.
Tiny Goat was her pop-up, but that was 2 years ago. But
right.
I will tell you that the burger at Chevel deserves the title of best burger in America.
Yep.
Not everybody agrees with that, but I'm firmly in that camp.
It has something to do with an egg, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh yeah, egg and bacon that is probably too thick, but the thicker the better.
Sure. Any ideas or suggestions from you, Sarah?
Yeah, quite frankly, I know it's a little cliche, and just going out and walking around, really getting to see Chicago and get a sense of it is a must if you have not yet been. Also, just taking a walk down Magnificent Mile and seeing
sure.
all of the shops, hopping into a coffee shop is a great way to spend a really nice afternoon, and hopefully we'll have great weather.
Yeah, I hope so too. It is September, and September in Chicago is typically fairly nice. So we'll keep our fingers crossed for great weather. Well, thank you so much, the two of you, for joining us today and telling us a little bit more about your topic and your presentation and your suggestions for things to do while people are in Chicago. Very much looking forward to your presentation and meeting you both in person this September.
Yeah, likewise. We're both really excited about the conference.
All right. Well, thanks so much. Take care.
Thanks.
You too.
Thanks.